Good day and welcome to the Sum of All Wisdom, conversations on music, makers, and meaning. I'm your host, Dr. Scott Catey. Today I'm talking with Dr. Ramilya Saubanova and Juan Gonzalez, founders of the Union Square Soirée Salon concert series in Baltimore, Maryland. I met Ramilya and Juan earlier this year when I attended a performance by the pianist Daria Vasilyeva at Union Square, and I knew immediately I wanted to have them join me on the show and talk about this phenomenal initiative and their vision for strengthening community through classical music and building a revitalized future for Baltimore's West Side. That piece we just heard was an excerpt from Ramilya's performance of Chopin's Ballade No. 4, and we'll talk about some music, of course, and the experience of music in a salon setting. But we started the conversation with the history of one of the key protagonists in the development of this project, and that's the 1872 townhome where the salon is hosted. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining me. This is such a thrill to have you on here today. You are the founders, as I said, of Union Square Soirée. It's a concert series presented in a salon setting in a townhouse, rowhouse. Which is it? Is it a rowhouse or a townhouse?
You know, I never knew the difference. I think it's a row house, in the sense that it's row, but it's also a townhouse. I'm actually the third owner of the house.
Oh, really?
The house has a history.
Yeah, and it's on the website too. One of our I guess board members did the research on it, and it involved a love story, heartbreak, and the short of it is a tobacco trader. And the reason it's both a townhouse and a row house is because he bought it primarily to do business during the week, and his family would stay in what is now Catonsville, because the city, with outbreaks of cholera and all that stuff, sometimes it's better for the genteelness to pass the heat of the city, particularly during the summer months, and in what is now the county, which would take a day to get there.
Right. So, when the year of the house was built?
1872.
And you're the third owner. That's fascinating.
Well, what's interesting is when I bought the house from John Scott, he was local guy, went to Micah, and his ex-wife, she was a Savannah socialite, and she left him because it took him so long to build a kitchen. And even when I bought it from him, the kitchen still wasn't finished. So they were both professionals, I had to wear a jacket and tie to go to work. And she finally said, "I'm done with this bohemian lifestyle. I'm out." So the first thing I did was build the kitchen.
Nice.
But the lady who was a little girl at the time, one of the daughters came to visit, and she was 100 years old by this point, and she's like, "Can I ask you a question? Can I see the parlor?" And I would have said no, because it's kind of like the Little Prince. What you don't see is better left to the imagination.
Right.
All the furniture and everything was already sold. It wasn't as grand. And because kids were not allowed to be in there. that this is really where he did business, where men would have cigars and drink whiskey and do business. So Union Square was basically a bohemian neighborhood of what we call like Germans, German speaking Baltimoreans, like H.L. Mencken. H.L. Mencken's house is like across the street. The famous journalist who covered the Scopes trial. That's what he's, I guess, known for, And a famous journalist, you can't get better than him, And this I guess one of the guys who loved him donated $3 million, and now his house is a museum. So when you come back next time, I'll show you his house.
Nice. Well, I look forward to that. That's great.
Yeah. That's right. And they used to host concert series there. So I'm not the first one. H.L. Mencken had perfect pitch, so he used to play the piano.
No kidding.
Yeah, wow. And you know how Germans like the big brass, and so he would bring people, and he was an opponent of what do you call it, the dry laws, prohibition.
Oh yeah.
So he just ignored it. He just kept having beer and drink there, because he thought it was an anti-immigrant policy. But I'll wait. But there's a lot of history here.
Really interesting history too, right? Famous people.
Yeah. Like the WASPy people would stay in Mount Vernon, which is the central part of Baltimore. And those were old English Catholic families. I guess you can't call them WASPy, but they were this old Baltimore families, like where the Maryland Club is and all that. And Union Square was where the new Germans, immigrants, came in. And the Germans, of course, came in, Bohemians came in with money. They were like the one immigrant group that came in prepared to immigrate.
So when you say Bohemians, you mean people from Bohemia, not the sort of artistic.
From Bohemia, yeah. Exactly. The Sudetenland.
Yeah. So just for context, I think you said Baltimore, but I want to make sure that people listening understand we're talking about Union Square in Baltimore in Maryland. And it's a beautiful place right now. I mean, I saw it when it was very locked in with snow. The last time we were there, it was, still that snowpocalypse, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
But the houses facing the park and the buildings around there, and the area is really lovely. And what you've done with the townhome is fantastic. And the how you've sort of fixed it up, but also what you're doing with the soiree, which I first learned about from LinkedIn of all places, because Daria Vasileva was talking about her debuts in New York and Baltimore at your salon on her LinkedIn site. And so I'm friends with her on there, and I followed through, researched where the show was and what was going on, and got tickets, and we came to that. And it was an amazing performance. I mean, I want to know so much about how you guys came to this, especially like what are the origins, and how is it that you developed this idea to do a salon in Baltimore and feature these kinds of musicians and young musicians?
We're so happy that Daria brought you to us last time. We were so happy to meet you.
I want to say that it's a confluence of a couple of things. I would say the protagonist is the house, right? It reminds me of like, one of Henry James's novels, Union Square. Henry James lived in one of the squares here. We're like the redheaded stepchild of the squares. There's Lafayette, Harlem Park. So Henry James' family's from Harlem Park. So he wrote Union Square. So there's a film where Union Square cannot happen in New York because NYU now owns all the properties there and tall buildings and stuff, so you can't do it accurately. So the movie is actually filmed here.
No kidding.
Wow. Some of the houses are actually featured here. Union Square's never gone up and down. It's always just stayed there. It's a historic neighborhood. So even though we're surrounded by the dysfunction of what happened to, all American cities, fortunately, there were certain things that came into vibing, my love of history. I'm from Nicaragua originally. I grew up in a city, León, Nicaragua, that was built in the 1500s, and I always remember that, it just always felt really close to history and just the essence you get from that. So when I was looking for homes, I certainly looked for one that was unique, and I found this one. Now, the beauty, and I don't want to speak on her behalf, is Peabody Institute is here too. So Baltimore, one of the things we have, and there's like a love-hate, we're sister cities, DC and Baltimore. But historically, Baltimore was a more rowdy one. You know, we rejected prohibition, as I indicated. Maryland did. You know, it's a Catholic state. But it also brought a lot of culture. And Peabody Institute, the oldest conservatory in the country, has attracted the best of the best. So I'm at a party in Mount Vernon, the neighborhood I told you before. You know, one of those fancy parties where every attorney works for the DOJ or General Block. And one of my friends comes in, and they have a Steinway too there, and Baby Grand, you know, and I had met Ramilya before at another party in the neighborhood.
Here, in Union Square.
In Union Square.
Nice.
And then I said, "Hey, what's up?" When we start talking, of course, I'm drinking too much. And she's like, "Man, I didn't even know what you were saying." So I talk a lot. I used to be a teacher, you know, and I was just agreeing with you, you know. And then I said, "Hey, you know, because we did concerts informally for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Been doing them, you know, because it's sort of like
parties,
you know,
dinners,
the neighborhood party dinners, you know, the neighbors get together, call friends." So something that naturally progressed, because you can't have houses like this and not be inclined to do that. And I said, really, you know, because she played, what's it, Debussy? Ravel or something, you know. I said, "You want to play in my house, you know?" And of course, a musician, she's like, "I'll do it." but yes, to put two and two together, it's like 20 plus years of experience, because, you know, these Russians, they start when they're like 2 years old, 5 years old. And they're brutalized over there in that system, you know. And
I started quite late.
So I'm gonna let her talk now.
I started when I was 8, so
that's late 8. Yeah. Go ahead. So I convinced her to play concert, and went to let her. I said, "Well, I can't play if you don't have a piano." "Well, I can get a keyboard." "Oh, I don't play in a keyboard."
Yeah, so we found a nice piano at the auction, actually. Right?
Oh, the auction.
Yeah.
For like 3,000 after all fixed. It was like, it was a deal. It's Steinway.
Yeah, but it's a good one. You know, it has a good touch, like good sound coming out of it. Maybe because of the wood, it aged well.
Is it easy to get a Steinway into that home?
Yeah. These houses are designed for that. You know, they would have all had a piano at some point. You know.
Yeah. Wow.
Like the one of the biggest American piano makers is now where the Baltimore Orioles play. You know, that design. It was a unique baseball stadium design. The Knapp pianos. And the family's mansion is in Vernon too. So I would venture to say that every home here had a piano, like in DC or in major America. And a lot of them do have pianos. Yeah.
Because sometimes we hosted concerts at someone else's house here in the neighborhood.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I mean, the idea of salon concerts is not new, right?
Yeah.
It's like 19th century tradition for people to have a good time, to socialize, and for pianists or like musicians, composers to showcase their work. For women, it's the only place to perform, basically.
Exactly.
We just do it in a modern way. We were just talking the other day that we live in a world of AI generated content, you know, algorithms, clicks, online presence. Basically everything that we see in the media, we see through the screen. So what we created will never go out of style, because
we didn't create it. It was there.
It was already there. Yeah.
So to answer your question, it's already there, and it's like a best friend. True, you know, how did we start this? And I know at some point we created a nonprofit because people wanted to donate money. You know, and it's different from $40, $50, but then like somebody wants to donate $1,500. You have to account for that, you know. So we created a board and the whole thing, you know.
Because for now we run it as a volunteer organization.
Yeah. We were forced to become a real organization because it became hot real quick, you know. Yeah. So when was it? When was it? How did we become formal? Yeah, that's a good question. You know, how did we become a formal organization?
Well, just last Saturday we celebrated 2 years salon concert series, and I think we became formal like a year and a half ago, because it took us some time, right, to go through papers and do it correctly.
Yeah, we didn't know anything about that.
Yeah. And we have like an interest, you know. Without people's interest, we probably would not continue. But artists are interested in performing here. People are interested in coming, and and making friends and listen to music.
But I would say it was Ramilya who did it, because Ramilya is still thinking big about it. There's an iconic church in the square, and she keeps saying, we need to collaborate with the pastor there who has it, because you actually see it as you come into the city.
Mm-hmm.
And and it's just like you need to formalize those things, I guess, because people just aren't going to give you support unless you have that.
Exactly, and they don't take you seriously too.
Yeah, and we were just sort of like, there was a lot of fun going on. People are like, well, I'd like to give you a check for some money, or I'd like to help you, I'd like to support you. Who does it go to? And that's the thing. I mean, I guess the subtext too is like it's just it just naturally was birthed out of like what we had been doing through the progressive dinners for a long time. And I guess the other thing is, like I said before, Union Square is sort of an island in a lot of dysfunction. As you drive in, it hits you. So you go to Fells Point, or like, it's for a common reference, in DC, Capitol Hill or Georgetown, you're less likely to need it, because you can just always go to like Lutece now, or you can go to like Mozzo, and enjoy a good drink and go back home. Here, we just are sort of and I want to be careful with that, because I don't want to trash the neighborhood either, but we have to be.
It's great.
It's great, but we do like the coffee shop, the bars, and so we do have some, but we tend to do more fun in a non-capitalistic way. We're sort of just borrowing each other's homes to have parties and enjoy ourselves. And then we decided at some point to open it up to everyone, So
yeah, I would say that Juan is the heart of the project.
No, that's not true.
No, it's true. He gave it its roots and wings too, because he believed in the vision. I come with experience, I have more like 20 years of experience in performing, being in that sphere, and I have good education, so I can really manage some things in a easier way, I would say. And I have some connections to artists, right? So
when you're going to Peabody,
yeah. I would bring that part of experience to the table, but we're a good team, and the project is growing and blossoming. We're very happy about it.
But it's just like, do you want it to grow that much? Because we've had opportunities to say, hey, people said, you have a bigger venue, have a bigger hall, then it's no longer a salon series. So that's the balance we have to play out. How do you create the salon series and not get caught up in the idea that you have to grow? One of the things we've done is we've actually, so we have a friend in Roland Park. Roland Park's one of the fanciest neighborhoods, 1920s Olmsted Garden District neighborhoods in Baltimore, that resembles Bethesda, Chevy Chase. I would say it's even better, because remember Fitzgerald's from the epicenter is Baltimore.
Right. Yeah.
And so she has one of those 1920s, stunning, true 1920s, roaring 20s mansions, and she started doing it too now. So we're not the first ones, but I think this next permutation of concert series, salon series, is picking up again.
Her son is doing.
And her son is the one that's, explain that, because I don't know much about it. Like, her son is.
Her son was performing at our Young Artist series that I'm particularly very proud of, and he opened it up like 2 years ago, and last Saturday he was performing it. And he started his own concert series, and the profit from the series would go directly to support Orchids, the organization in Baltimore that is connected to the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. They help kids to education. It's very nice. So he has his own goal, right? To develop this path.
His name is Jackie.
Jackie Wu.
Jackie Wu, and his mom is Mao, and it's a phenomenal pianist.
Yeah. Very good one. And he's attracting his friends. They all organize it. They share the workload, so it's very nice what they do.
They read poetry in between sessions.
Exactly.
That's okay. Yeah, good.
And hey, they last concert they had, I understand they made over $7,000 for orchids.
Yeah, they have good group of supporters.
That's impressive. You guys have a very diverse programming schedule that's coming up, right? I mean, I haven't looked at all of your past concerts in the year, but you've got jazz and contemporary and classical.
Bluegrass, New Orleans,
music. Yeah, New Orleans.
Yeah. Really impressive stuff that you are doing. Tell me, who does the planning? How do you invite folks in? What are the logistics of getting all of this taken care of? How do you market? Is it all Facebook and Instagram, or where else do you showcase?
I guess I'm handling that.
She handles that, and she gets a deluge of people who want to play.
Yeah, but we have a lot of friends too who would want to participate. We usually don't set boundaries in terms of, okay, we want to hear only this type of style, and we ignore the others. It's just if we're interested in a group or the performers, we let them choose the program, and usually it's, as you said, diverse, and we actually like it because we like to feature different cultures. Like we did concert of Tatar music. I'm from Tatarstan. We did Latin American music, right?
Yeah, we had this pianist and Argentinian guy, and they focused on music from Cuba.
Exactly, and then we showcased the all-time American music.
Oh yeah.
Jazz music.
Alex Lacamont, he's a local blues guy. And the Claudners, the Claudners, yeah.
And Eric Bird is coming up, right? The trio. Yeah.
Very excited to host them.
That one's like, we just posted it 2 days ago, and it's almost completely packed. So
I bet.
We'll save a couple for you.
There's so much on the schedule that I want to see with you guys, so we'll be there. My wife and I will definitely be back.
Do this. So we promote Baltimore. So what you do is you come and stay for the weekend. That's what you have to do, not just come for this, but just come for other things,
just rest and reflect.
Rest in there, stay in Fells Point somewhere, and just walk around and absorb the city,
It's a good idea.
To continue on the artist topic, I would say that our goal is to support local musicians and give them opportunity to shine and to speak up. And like as I said earlier, young artists are really interested in that. We collaborated with different local schools, including Peabody Prep, Patterson Park Academy of Music, some local studios right outside of Baltimore. And we also collaborate with visual artists, photographers. Like we welcome all of the spheres of the cultural.
Tell me, Ramilya, tell me more about the Young Artist Initiative. You said that's very special to you. Tell me how it came to be and what your goals are.
I teach myself, and I see that here in the United States, at least in this state, in my experience, there's not enough of opportunities for young musicians to perform. And performing in front of people is a very useful practice. It's essential for them to grow as artists, know what they need to improve, what they're good at, and to motivate them. So I thought, and I know that many organizations, they do concerts specifically, okay, young artists are performing, young musicians, and the whole concert is dedicated to that. What we do is we invite them to participate in a concert basically with established artists already. They open the concert, they showcase their artistry, and then they stay for the whole concert to listen to what other people are doing. And I think it really opens up their boundaries, their world, and make them more rounded musicians.
Yeah, I mean, it's nerve-wracking, but they're proud of it at the end. They're in front of a real audience. I don't know. I heard, I guess, another podcast that discussed this. How New York City really suffered during the AIDS epidemic, the art scene, because a lot of the audience who supported the artist died out. You know, they were
Mhm.
just sick and died, you know, or were so sick they couldn't participate in the
Mhm.
life and culture of New York. And as a result, the artists and the musicians, they all suffered, you know. So it's important to put a kid in front of a seasoned, you know, audience. Like when you came, we probably had 8 professional pianists watching Daria's concert.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's stressful.
It is.
It's stressful, but it's also,
Yeah.
I mean, it feels to me like this is such a receptive and interested and engaged audience. And then the afterward,
It is.
I've performed, and now I get a chance to speak with these 8 pianists who are in the room watching me, who can give me guidance or advice or at least reflection on my work. I mean, that I think seems like a really powerful model for getting young people in front of an audience performing, you know, for some of the first times in their careers.
And also jam afterwards.
Oh, we
That's
usually
the
jam. Did you
Right.
stay for the jam afterwards?
that's the
I
favorite part.
didn't. We couldn't stay, but
Oh,
next
that's
time.
when the real party starts, you know.
Right.
Yeah. We have one guy who has to at least have 2 whiskeys before he starts. And he's good. He's really
No,
good.
it's fun.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
And I think kids also see it, like
Yeah.
how they can evolve, you know, and
Yeah, the music's fun too. It's not just like you
and
play.
it's entertainment as well
Yeah.
as something educational.
Yeah.
And community, right? So you're bringing in people who are live there, who are resident there, who make their livings there, right? I think that also is a really part of the salon ethos, right? Is to make those things happen and to drive musical culture in a way that not just AI and technology and streaming, but even showcasing an artist in some place like Carnegie Hall, for instance, just a big audience, and it's a whole different feeling. So I think for me and my wife both sitting there, I mean, we got to sit. We were 7 feet away from Daria as she played.
Yeah.
You can see her body moving. You can see the movement that she uses to make the sounds that come out of the piano. It's amazing to be that close to somebody when they're performing, especially, I mean, Scriabin, come on. Huge piece of music, right? The Black Mass was like, oh my God, right there in the middle of hearing that. It was a phenomenal experience. So
It's a different vibe, you know, like too. It's a different. I would say. So we've had you know, musicians, you know, that for instance thrive better in the salon format, and we've had some really renowned musicians who don't thrive as well in the salon format.
Yeah.
And I
what
think
happens
it's really
when that's the case?
like they're uncomfortable. You could tell they're uncomfortable.
Yeah, but they adjust. So it's like it's
Yeah.
a couple of, you know, seconds when they're really uncomfortable because of setting, as you said, the people sitting so closely. Sometimes it could be distracting.
Forced to break the fourth wall, and then so the theater mass that you have is off, and so all your deficits, whatever, are there in front.
Yeah, everything is up close, you know.
Everything is up close. While, you know, like I'll brag about, we have 2 Italian ladies. We call them the Italian ladies. And when I was in Italy recently, like in Rome, and I noticed that Italians are used to the salon setting a lot more. So they're used to the antics of like being, you know, people are talking in the background or drinking a little bit too much, you know, and it's just part of their culture, Italian culture. And this Italian ladies killed the house.
Yeah, they
standing
know how to
ovations.
handle
They know
it.
how to handle. They know how to break. They barely speak English, but they know how to like talk about it. They know how to. They know how to engage the audience. And they told me that I prefer this. I prefer this setting. They don't know what to call it. They're like they prefer it, you know, and they thrive in it because that's part of the Italian culture. But in America, we do more like you play at Carnegie Hall, boom,
You're a star.
and you see the musician walking out, you know,
Very
and driving
quickly.
off.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
No, I
And
mean,
there is a mask, right? I mean, the performer
Yeah.
mask, and this what you just said is in that close to the audience, breaking down the fourth wall and taking the mask off. That's a whole different sort of how am I as a human being, as a performer in this space, and that it challenges the professionals. Some of the professionals is, I think, really interesting.
exactly. I mean, where I come from, it's also not common to play in small places, small venues. You know, we usually have big halls that can fit like 400 people at once easily. So when I started doing these salon concerts, it took me a while to get comfortable and create a new persona, you know, like how I would deliver some information, how I would perform. We had a discussion with Juan that music is entertainment. And I would always say that I kind of disagree, but you know, I find that it's like 50-50. You're supposed to entertain the audience. This is, you know.
You know, it's like it's not, and I'm not saying that she's a troubadour, you know, for the
Not in
court to
that
play.
sense, yes.
But you know, like I'll say this, you know, Maria was telling me that when she went back to Russia recently, she did pack one of those concerts, 400 people and stuff, and she brought some of the things that I guess we picked up here.
Yeah, I gained
like
through the salon concerts.
now she was serving champagne and a few hors d'oeuvres, and it was a total huge
Making people
hit.
to talk after the concert, you know, and just reflect what they saw, like share their feelings or emotions, and they really liked it.
And she was telling me now they're copycats doing it in Russia too now. What she brought.
And it's not common to talk, you know, much during the concert. You just basically sit and play, and someone else is announcing your pieces. So it's very different setting. People are very like serious.
Oh, because you were introducing the pieces and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, and I would like combine two things in one, and it would create a positive outcome.
So you said it's 50-50 entertainment, and what's the other 50%?
Professional.
I would say educational component.
Education. Yeah.
And let people, you know, I used the word reflect a lot while we were talking, but I want to say that go and see what's happening inside of the person, you know, and reflect on what are we thinking about? Are we thinking critically about something? Are we reflecting on some of our emotions, you know? And usually when people are distracted too much, like, as we see it now, you know, like too much information everywhere is coming from every angle. Too much of content, too many people, you know, too many arguments, like so many crazy things are happening in the world. We just don't have time to sit and think of who we are, what do we want, how we feel, you know. And during the concert, I think when people are listening to the music more carefully and more attentively, it creates that state when you can actually transform some of the things that you're going through and just let them go, for example, or some emotions, like the popular one is described while listening to the music is catharsis, right?
Catharsis. Yeah. Catharsis, you know.
And music has many ways to help people to look at life through different lenses, see the message or hear the message that is coming from the composer or the world, the community.
Yeah. I tell you, Ramilya is really elegant in the way she says this, and I don't mean that with sarcasm. She's really an elegant writer and an elegant. It's shocking because she came here as an adult, but when she writes emails and stuff, it's like, how the hell did you do that? You know, but you know, it's just natural. I think we forget that formalism, when literary theory starts in Russia, you know, and not necessarily in Germany. They write a certain way, they speak a certain way. But I think what I mean by to keep it in more prosaic terms, you know, what I mean by artists as entertainers, and by 50-50, what I mean by that. So I'm sure he won't mind that I use him, but we have a guy who's still showing an exhibit in our house. Fernando, you know, it's a Spanish guy, you know, and he did a sculpture on COVID, and it's sort of like Prometheus bound. So I think you saw it, like the COVID molecule, whatever is virus is like dragging the contemporary student down. And we've had two people that wanted to buy it, and he's like almost judging the buyer. Oh, I don't sell my art to anyone. What do you think? And what is this? I think the fact that we charge money for the musician no longer owns that piece. That's why it becomes entertaining. Every person who paid now owns a piece of that. And it's no longer Ramilya's interpretation of Chopin or whatever, you know, it's that person who bought it. And you have to be willing to sell it. You become an entertainer of that right there, as opposed to being by yourself in a room and just playing for yourself for your own gratification. And so in this case with Fernando, he's purely academic, as Ramilya would say. He won't sell it. And they've offered him good money. Last time it was like 1,500, 2,000, 3,000. What do you want? No, no, no. I think I'm just going to keep it. And meanwhile, it's in my house. and
It's a
and
good piece, though, right? I mean, you got to have something in your house. That might as well be that.
why'd you sell it to you for like 500? Because yes, you have the intellectual capacity to understand the piece, whatever that is, right?
Perfectionism.
Yeah, with the musician oftentimes does that when it be told he's for sale. But I say that that's when the musician has to struggle, making a living and selling the entertainment.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know a few musicians who would not play certain repertoire because they would think that it's beneath them, like it's purely entertainment-like or popular classical music. But even if I agree with them, I know that if they go to the concert, it would not be as successful because you need to help people to understand this type of music. And in order to do that, you need to, you know, find ways to introduce it. So it's like.
is there something you wouldn't play, Ramilya?
No, I changed my mind, you know. The more I do these long concerts and I see how people react to some things, like I learn a lot as a performer.
Was there at one point something you wouldn't play? You don't need to name it. Just
she's being an entertainer now. She's like, well, no, I like to make money now. You know, I always ask for you know, Eric Satie. I always ask for that, but I also ask for modern music. One of the score of like typically scores for like movies and stuff. Oh, they hate playing that. You know, like Star Wars, anything that any score.
it's because it's Wagner rewritten. No.
Yeah, see, there you go. You too. You too. No, I'm not doing this.
I mean, I love John Williams, but come on, there's only so much bombast I can take.
Or any like contemporary piece. Oh, that's too simple. You know, I can't do that.
Because we're trained in a different way, you know. When you're at school, you have a different mindset, and then you go out of school and you understand that okay, this is not entirely useful. I need to gain some other things.
Need to make a living.
Exactly.
Brad Meldau. I love Brad Meldau, the Canadian guy, jazz Canadian guy. Have you heard of Brad Meldau?
Yeah.
And I asked another pianist to play. No, I'm not doing that. Yeah. But you know, it's like they want to like sometimes, and this is where we argue. You know, just because a piece is hard doesn't mean the audience wants to hear it. You know, I mean, you cannot have 8 pianists come to every concert and appreciate that you master that piece. You know, sometimes you can.
I was actually impressed that you guys featured Daria and her selections because it was a little bit contemporary with.
Oh, she did do some contemporary pieces. Yeah.
But then the Scriabin as well. Those are, for an audience, those are challenging pieces of music to listen to a lot of times.
But I think she blended it nicely.
She sure did. I mean, she did a fantastic job.
And she introduced different types of Scriabins over, so it was nice for people to, you know, be prepared, as I say. She made it very easy for some, you know, to understand the latest works. But it was
the context, right? Where did he come from and why? You know, the discussion of his vision of sort of bringing the world to completion at the foot of the Himalayas. That story was fantastic to hear in the context of the Black Mass. It's a whole other layer, right?
Yeah. No, she did a beautiful job. We're very happy to.
She is the perfect example of 50-50.
Yes.
You know, some things that are modern and blended it in. I think the salon forces you to do that, you know, and you got to be prepared as you're walking around. Hey, can you play this for me? Because the audience is there, you know, and it may not be something you want to play, you know. And you could say no, you know, like Ramilya says no all the time, you know. So, no.
Ramilya, what is your repertoire? What's your core?
I would say the 20th century music or late romanticism. I think that's my strongest suit. I would probably skip classicism. I just think that I need.
I love your Chopin. Your Chopin is phenomenal.
Yeah. So as I said, late 19th century.
Debussy, Brahms.
Yeah. And Liszt.
Schubert.
Right.
Rachmaninoff. All these guys.
Do you have a favorite?
You know, no. I was thinking about it a lot to pick one or two at least. I cannot do that. Usually like a few pieces from that composer, a few others from another one, and creates a nice outline, like what I would like to do. But I also like the music from 16th century, really is appealing to me. But I also work with a lot of modern composers.
Oh yeah, the tarp composer that you do so well.
Yeah.
What's his name?
I mean, he already passed away.
Yeah, but
Rustem Yakin, but he is sort of contemporary. He was. And then Almas Manasipov. And now I'm preparing the CD to come out. And
yeah, tell me about that. When's the release?
This project was postponed for different reasons for almost 4 years.
Mm.
And now we encountered the problem of finding a studio. Like I already recorded some of it several times, and now I need to do it again because we had some studio issue.
Yeah, the piano wasn't the best,
Yeah, or like the middle pedal would be missing, and I do need it for some of the pieces. So I'm hoping that it will see the world in the fall of 2026, but we will see how it's going. And
I can't wait.
Pieces that I'm working on right now is one was written by Dr. Crozier. He's he lives in Florida. He's a professor of composition, and he actually studied at Peabody too. But
and his uncle is who?
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
The Mr. Rogers?
Yeah,
oh,
Mr.
wow.
Rogers. He teaches at the university where Mr. Rogers graduated from. What's his?
It's a small world, right?
It is. Yeah, and he's such a nice person. And another piece by English composer Tristan Latchford. I'm very excited about it, because it's always nice to play something that was written by your friends or contemporaries. We live in the same time, but we perceive the world quite differently.
And will you showcase these pieces at the soiree?
Yeah.
In the next season.
Yeah, the next season. We have a couple of people who we're close with that are going to feature some unique pieces. Possibly during the talking phases, and some tango pieces, and hopefully my favorite is Vivaldi. I love Baroque music. I love. It would be ideal to play with the original instruments.
Oh yeah.
And we'll even bring the dog to bark. When does the dog come in? Yeah. Yes, I didn't know this. I didn't know that Vivaldi was the first one to bring the city life into the actual composition. There was actually a dog that would bring in the
things like
incorporated.
Yeah. So we're working on getting some musicians who could perform it in historic instruments.
Yeah. It's fun too. That's the thing. This is fun. Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, it's got to be fun bringing all that together and seeing it do what you wanted to do to achieve your mission. That's got to be gratifying. Tell me a little bit about the coffee.
All right. So,
have you tried a cup of coffee when you were here?
I was enjoying the wine. Didn't try the coffee.
So I had an idea. Well, my family is in the packaging business and coffee business in Guatemala. Originally from Nicaragua, but like during the war in the 80s, we just kind of had a diaspora. Some of us stayed in Central America, some in Guatemala was a place to go, where Mexico, and some of us came here to the US, but when they heard that we were doing this, we all thought about it, because how do we, they just thought, look, people give CDs all the time in concerts, and CDs, who even has a CD player? Why don't we just enjoy coffee, drink a coffee, and enjoy the music? And so within the actual can, we have all the artist or visual artist information, the portrait or whatever. In Ramilya's case, is a portrait of her and a link to her website, a link to her music. And we just thought, that's better than just a CD that you're just going to throw away in a corner, to have something that you enjoy, the coffee, the music, and carry and keep a souvenir, and support the artist, because the money goes goes to the artist, And so, we haven't, problem that we have with the organization, it grew so quickly that we need more volunteers and people who we don't have the time, we have different
jobs, too.
Yeah, we have like real jobs too that we go to, and as far as it is, we get exhausted. It's an organization in its infancy, and maybe one day we can find that it can sustain itself, and we can hire Ramilya to actually just do this full time, and other people, sort of like it would be ideal to have something like the Creative Alliance, and we got some ideas from them. How they started, and Barbara Mikulski, former Senator Barbara Mikulski, she's the one that spearheaded that, and that, like us, actually started in a more humble situation. Started out of Fells Point at a 2-story row house, where the people would just come and read poetry and people would just jam. And then I don't know if you recall, but Fells Point was slated to be demolished. And Barbara Mikulski was the I guess the bulwark that prevented that from happening. And thank God it didn't happen, And so she also sponsored a lot of her. It was a Polish neighborhood. Barbara Mikulski being a Polish background, she lived there, grew up there, and then so she embraced all these organizations, revitalized the area, and the Creative Alliance, is a major cultural center in the East Side that brings all of it together, and hopefully her vision, if we can get some of that to revitalize this area, to make it a cultural epicenter and help Baltimore culture in general, we'll be proud. Like, look.
No, we have a lot of ideas.
Yeah, we have ideas.
And we use our resources that we have, but of course, with more resources, we can do more. Absolutely.
That would be ideal. Yeah, if we had a politician the likes of Barbara Mikulski and people who would, share the vision with us too, like that, because it wasn't just her; it was other people that came together to create that happening. It would be like the West Side version of it, the more classical music oriented version of that.
And you have a commissioner on your board, a city commissioner, right? So that's got to help for some.
It does, and we're going in that direction, hopefully. But I also think it's important to, where we're unique is that we do heavily focus on classical music. Classical music is something I believe exists for a reason, and it's enjoyable to me. I love it, and I'm not a classically trained musician. I'm not a musician at all. I just enjoy it as the dilettante of sorts, So I said I'm going to learn one day, but I haven't yet, but one day I will, Hopefully, I'll donate the place to the Soiree one day, and it just becomes its own thing. As long as I put a picture of me somewhere,
Exactly.
Above the
I'm gonna be naked like this, Our founder, in his glory.
And do you have, after what you just said about being exhausted and other work to do, and you're not there yet in that sense, do you have part of your vision to grow other soiree settings in and around Baltimore or DC, or what's the vision for the future?
Immediate vision would hopefully, and we're learning, like Ramilya's having a meeting with somebody, that's been doing this for a long time, 70s, well, not her, but organization. And she told us, hey, we have musicians that already get paid, that could perhaps play for you, and they're looking for venues to play. I didn't know about that, because right now the donations, that come in go to the musician, most of it, some of it goes to just the food, whatever, or tuning the piano. But we would love to perhaps connect with some nonprofits that already have musicians that are that get paid to they're just looking for venues. And some
I think the more places,
go ahead, because you know more about that.
Places like that we have around, like it doesn't matter where, Baltimore or like
DC, New York,
Virginia, the better for everyone, for people who come and enjoy it, for artists, for young musicians, for organizations. It's much better because it's not only like I find that the music is not only aesthetic thing; it also creates the social practice. Right?
Yeah, it's not just for beauty, it's just for social connections,
Embodying the cultural experience, shared cultural experience, deeper connections, engagement. It's very useful nowadays, especially.
Well, like you said, connecting with other venues, like Jonathan DePetty, we talked and communicated, and he says, like, look, he's working on something I thought about too, and it's funny how we all were thinking the same thing. He said if we can get musicians that are guaranteed, sort of like from the Mid-Atlantic all the way to the Northeast, gigs. So instead of offering a musician, hey, you can make $1,500 here in Union Square, you can make $2,000-3,000 in New York, and then you can make more in Boston. So if we could all get connected and that person coming for a month, if they're international, offer that person a performance visa.
Benefits everyone.
So it benefits everybody to sort of create like the shipment circuit for classical music.
Yeah, it's not easy to be a classical music performer.
Yeah,
I think it's very hard to make a living.
that would be one way to bring really interesting people of international renown come and play, and we grow, but not grow in a space sense, but we grow in the sense that we become an institutionalized place that carries itself.
There's so many talented people, around the world.
So many, right?
Many. It's so cool.
Yeah.
The thing you just said, Ramilya, sort of lands with me. Hard to be a classical musician. I think in part because classical music has lost some cachet, right? What do you, as a performer and as one of the, the founder of Union Square, and sort of being on the cutting edge of this, what do you think about the status of classical music right now as an attractor, something to bring in people and grow what you're trying to do?
I would say it's experiencing a crisis, maybe not the major one, but on a smaller scale. I find that it's not so easy to attract people to come and listen to the classical music concert unless we offer something, like attractive into the program, or like no.
Actually, I don't know how we did it. I don't know how we did. I guess the question was like with a crisis. I don't know how Union Square is actually doing it. I don't know how it is that we became the place to come and listen to classical music. It just kind of happened.
Exactly, because we created something besides just the performing classical.
The social aspect, like we were talking about, it's just not just about the beauty of the music, it's about the whole ambiance. But how did we, it just took all these different components, that sort of coalesce into one thing. Like one of my neighbors, Union Square has a lot of French expats for some reason. And I have to say, he's the one that pushed for the first official concert before we became an organization, His name is Emmanuel. His husband is was the department chair for for the literature department at University of Maryland. I'm not sure. I don't want to misquote, but Emmanuel he has great concerts. He hasn't had one in a long time, but he has these restrictive things. You cannot drink during the concert. And now Ramilya was like pushing for that too, because you can become distracted. But it's a very old school French. You have to wait. And then for the after party, But during the no drinking before the concert, no eating before the concert. Yeah, you would actually cover the food, So me, I'm like, no, cocktails, drink, have fun.
Well, because the audience to be engaged in what you do, right?
Right.
And when the food is there and the drink is there, it becomes more like background-ish entertainment.
Those are the things that we have to play off. That's where the question, entertainment versus solipsistic, art for art.
Art for art,
I'm like, no, art for the audience.
Yeah,
stage for art for art. No, you're right. Yeah.
We're trying to collaborate on many things and be flexible so it works for everyone in the setting.
You can't be so stuffy.
Exactly.
But you can also be like a throwdown, saloon. We're salon, not saloon.
I think I have a vision like 18th century salon in Paris, young Wolfgang Mozart and his father coming through, and he's a little tiny guy playing a harpsichord, right? And having them shout out, play whatever the popular hits were of the day. And they're all maybe having a taste or maybe not having a taste. I don't know. The art, the representations of that all show them with there's a visual of them lining the walls, and there's tapestries, and they're sort of reclining in couches and having a cognac or something. So I don't know where I come down on food before, food after, wine before, wine after. I don't know. I don't want to be a purist. I don't want to be stuffy. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we're going back. I told you maybe because those guys were young. The guys like we think about this noble man as being like in their 60s, but they were like in their 20s. They were trying to meet women. They were trying to have fun.
No, I think it's fine balance.
Yeah, that's true. I could say, hey, play this, play the next one.
It usually happens like during the jam session.
Yeah, we do that. That's why the after party is where it kind of picks up that kind of like
improvisation,
vibe.
like traditional in the sense that you just described.
Right.
We had one group that I was shocked because they were really good. But there's the one group that started drinking before the after party. Sally's Baby's Dollars, they're from New Orleans. They brought the house down. They did the Tiny Desk series,
oh, great.
They were going to play at the Kennedy Center, but that with all the drama, they got canceled. So they asked for us. They heard about us, kind of like what you heard about us too, and they contacted a friend of a friend who contacted Biff, who's one of our president of the neighborhood association, and hey, he said, can you host him? And he was last minute, but it was like you can't say no to Biff, and
so we did it at the beginning of the new year.
We did it last minute, and I mean it was packed. People were at the streets and everything.
No, it was cool. And
it was cool.
They basically started afterwards, just improvising and having fun, and it was really nice. Really nice.
Yeah. But that's kind of thing. It was like, but that that was totally a departure from classical music. But the pianist was pretty accomplished too, though, even though he was playing New Orleans ragtime. But he could do anything. He could do anything. Yeah.
Very talented people.
Yeah.
Impressive, isn't it, to see that kind of talent all over the place? I love it. Yeah. So we're coming up. It's over an hour. I'm sorry to have kept you guys longer than we had planned. But before we end today, can you tell me just each of you personally, what's the most meaningful thing about having founded this and seeing the organization grow in these 2 years?
Bringing people together. They make new friends. They feel like at home. Like I've noticed a couple of people, they just, like to just come and relax, put everything aside and just, be in the moment.
That's really beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
Pretty much.
I mean, you should be proud. I'm sure you must feel pride to know that you've created this environment for that to happen.
I realize it like 100%, I just do it because I know how to do it and I like doing it. But the whole outcome that it creates, I don't think I realized it yet.
We don't even realize the impact we have on people. Like I tell you one thing, when my neighbors, they were building a chicken coop, and they had a carriage house, but they raise chickens, and they also have a farm in Moncton. City ordinance allow you to do that for some reason. At some point, they were kept in the books. But when they were rehabbing their carriage house, they found a little card that said Union Square Athletic Club, and it was from the 1800s. We all die, and I just hope like maybe in 100 years somebody's going to be able to find like a music program from us. Say, wait, who were those people? What were they doing? And who knows? Maybe something that we throw away right now will be framed.
Put your name in the history. This is what you say. Put in the history.
A little tiny break in part of the history of the house and the neighborhood and the city of Baltimore. Like somebody was like, who were those people? Because I would just look around Baltimore streets like, where was the athletic club?
Exactly.
Apparently it was somewhere in Franklin Square.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And maybe the fourth owner of the house will then say, let's find this out. Let's do the research and figure out what happened here.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you so much, though, Scott. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so happy to have had you on here today. This is a great conversation. I really appreciate you both being here. I can't wait to come back to the soiree and see another show and talk to both of you again.
Thank you, man.
Take care.
See you soon, okay?
See you soon. Soon, yes, definitely. That's the Etude Tableau in E-flat minor, Opus 39, number 5, Appassionato by Sergei Rachmaninoff, performed by Ramilya Saubanova. Thank you for listening to The Sum of All Wisdom today. If this conversation resonated with you, please consider sharing it with others. And if you're able, I strongly recommend attending a performance at the Union Square Soirée in Baltimore. You will be glad you did. If you would like to contribute to Union Square Soirée, please contact Dr. Saubanova or Juan Gonzalez via unionsquaresoiree.com, or you can find their contact information in the show notes. The Sum of All Wisdom is written, produced, and hosted by me, Dr. Scott Catey, released by Ravenna Studios, and distributed by Transistor FM. Thanks for tuning in.